What was your take on this, first of all? It's not radical, but the permanent change, the change to a casual going to a permanent, there is something in this for the worker, the government not wanting to just be totally pro-business. Is this how you took this?
Oh, definitely, Tom. I mean, this is a package of measures from what we know so far. We know a fair bit. There's a fair bit of it's leaked. It's clearly designed to get through the Senate. It's not designed to have a fight. The Prime Minister doesn't want to have a fight on IR for several reasons. One is it's a Labor strength, and they don't want a protracted battle over it. They might as well pick a fight on Medicare. There actually is, these aren't huge changes, but there will be a productivity dividend if they do get them up. So, again, it's a bit like the government's attitude towards the federal budget. Put measures in there that have a chance of passing, or other ones are going to have a blue with the Senate. So, with relation to the casual changes, there's two of them I don't think are that problematic. Labor seems to be taking issue with them, but making it mandatory for an employer to offer a casual who's had regular working hours for the last 6 months a job, and to define a casual in the Act. They're both sort of things the unions have been asking for. The one that's got their noses out of joint is the third thing, which is to sort of address a federal court decision in which a couple of workers were exploited. They worked effectively as full-time employees, but they were employed as casuals. They took the employer to court. The court ordered that they get paid all their benefits as if they were full-time employees, but also get to keep the loading they got as casuals. So this is the reference to double dipping. And the government wants to make an amendment saying, well, if that happens in the future and you get back paid all these benefits, you should subtract the loading you've been paid as well. You shouldn't be paid as a casual and a full-timer. And for some reason, the Labor movement says this is outrageous and this is removing hard-fought rights. So that's going to be a sticking point. As for the rest of it, well, we'll just wait and see. But it doesn't seem that onerous, to be honest.
So, look, we had the ACT on today, and their main issue with that court case that you mentioned, I mean, they did have an issue with the permanent request. They said there's no umpire. The government says there will be an umpire. We'll find that out for sure at midday. But on this court case, they say two different things. First of all, well, no casual ever actually saves money for a rainy day, which might be true, but I guess, how much more can you expect an employer to do? You've already given a casualised rate of 25%. What they claim is a lot of the workers in the test cases were not getting the same, or not getting a true 25% loading. Now, from your view, is this just sort of a bit of a strange case within the companies that have taken these cases? Do the unions have a point around, do they stick people on, supposed 25% extra that isn't really because of other elements to how they're defined? Is there an issue there?
Well, look, possibly, Tom, and you're getting really into the weeds now on IR, but I suspect if the casual's not getting their 25% loading, that's something separate that needs to be addressed rather than, rectified retrospectively with a court hearing, and with time was paid on top. That this goes to flaws with labour hire, gig economy workers, stuff like that. And I think you'll find, if you scratch Labor beneath the surface, they probably anticipate they're not going to have a problem with most of this bill, so they're going to make an issue about what's not in it, and that'll go to things like its failure to address labour hire issues and how gig economy workers just get blatantly ripped off by being treated as contractors. So, look, let's wait and see how it plays out.
That is the interesting one. I mean, if you're looking at this from a Labor point of view, surely the gig economy, such a boom, clearly the regulation there doesn't give people any sort of minimum salary, and it's something so many people have taken up. With 7% unemployment, what can I do? Gee, I'll jump in an Uber and drive around or deliver food, and for staggeringly low rates at some point. Is this the switch to Labor and the real fight to have? Because the government clearly not doing anything in this area.
Well, potentially, yes. I mean, the gig economy wasn't on the list of 5 topics that the Prime Minister listed in July that he said we were going to, have these talking groups, these groups to have these talks about, and, the union's business and the government. So it wasn't part of that. And so that's what I mean. Labor will, quite understandably use that as a point of differentiation. But, everyone was cheering along the disruptors 5 years ago. It was pretty obvious this is where it was going to end. Uber was cheap for a reason, because they weren't paying people properly or paying tax. So, surprise, surprise, here we are. I saw it coming. So, yes, it is a very ripe area, and it is one of great exploitation, not just Uber, but, all these poor buggers delivering food for pittance and so forth. So, it makes sense to make a point out. And I think Labor said something about that before the last election about gig economy workers. So, we'll see what happens. But, that's why we have regulations and minimum wages, Tom, so people don't get exploited.
There might be a lot of people there who might not have thought they'd end up there before the last election, so that's what might make it even more ripe. Hey, just finally and quickly, some tensions within the Nationals, Lou O'Brien returning, talk about whether maybe David Littleproud's the key and he could sort of run if he wanted to, but cross allegiances, if you like. Is there much substance to all of this?
Oh, there is insofar as they all at each other again, and Lou O'Brien, I think, has come back into the party room primarily to make sure they don't lose a minister in the reshuffle, because they actually are oversubscribed now without him in the party room. And then it's got everyone talking about what else it might mean. But from what I can ascertain, the sort of support for Michael McCormack is still there. The support for someone else isn't still there, and they're all sort of at each other again. But it's less than apparent whether something will come out of it today, or could it just be more, sort of smoke and noise again.